So I'm off to do a house clearing and blessing today, and I thought I would just film my thoughts on my way there and really why energy clearing and blessing and transitions are just a really important part of how we set ourselves up for success energetically. Now, transitions have been acknowledged through ceremony and ritual for millennia. Traditions like birth of a baby, coming of age rituals, marriage ceremonies, and death transitions as well. And in modern society, what we have are, other traditions and rituals. We see now like, divorce ritual or new job or, anything that is really a significant change in somebody's life can be acknowledged and celebrated. So transitions are really important to us, but we don't necessarily spend a great deal of time thinking about them or acknowledging them, and very often we get into our busy lives of busyness where we're out and about and doing lots of things, and we just forget pause and acknowledge the transition in a mindful way. So I love it when I get called to do things like house energy clearing and blessings when it's signaling a transition. So in this case, the house that I'm going to, they have it was their family home, and they've sold their family home and they're moving into a new property. The work that I'm doing today with the family is about connecting with spirit of place, connecting with the guardian spirit of the home, which has supported, nurtured and nourished them for so long, in an ending ceremony, a transition ceremony, really wanting to set up the house for success, the guardian spirit of the house, making sure that they understand the transition that's taking place, and being appreciative of the time and energy that the guardian spirit has taken in just nurturing them over the years. So we're going to do some conversation with the guardian spirit. We're going to connect with that spirit in a very deep and meaningful way, and then we're going to do some energy clearing, and not from a perspective of it's negative or it's stuck or it's stale or it's dead, but just a transition cleanse. So removing the energetic essence of the occupants and creating something beautiful and high energy for the new family that's moving through. So it'll be just a beautiful energy cleanse and a lovely blessing to set up the space in a beautiful way and to manage the transition really, really positively. And I think that that's just such beautiful work to do, and I'm really grateful for the family that reached out, who knew and understood enough to be able to want to create some sort of beautiful ceremony, a ritual for the transition. So I want to talk a little bit about space clearing, because I think there's a lot of misinformation out there, and as with everything, I can only share with you what I believe to be true from my practice and my learning and my experience. So I'm going to speak my truth in energy cleansing work. And very often I get contacted to do some energy clearing work because there's supposedly some paranormal activity or unwanted kind of spiritual activity going on. Very often people are feeling frightened, or maybe even believe that there's some sort of demonic or negative possession of the house. And so they either come to me to do that work, to do that kind of exorcism through a house clearing, or they've done something themselves, or they've had somebody in to do something and the energy or the activity has ramped up. And I see that over and over again, and I just think if there is spirit in the home, if there is something there, whether that's the energy of somebody who had once lived, or perhaps it's the guardian spirit or some elemental energy. Imagine taking sacred smoke through a property with that intention of getting rid of, exercising, of removing something that is unwanted, and doing it from a place of either fear or anger, or both. And I think what that does is it creates more of a negative experience that can have the opposite effect of what you're trying to do. So if you're trying to create some beautiful, peace, calmful environment that's free from poltergeist activity or spirit activity or negative feelings, and you come at it from that place, then you're just going to contribute and add to that, or really piss something off. So I come at my house energy clearing work from a very, very different perspective. It's about clearing stale, stuck energy that no longer serves the occupants, but in conversation with any spirit entity that might be there. So a very, very different perspective. I'm not trying to remove, I'm trying to harmonize, I'm trying to balance, I'm trying to create an environment that is supportive and nurturing of everybody that's there. So it's a bit of a different perspective that I come to the process of house clearing with. The other thing that I was taught, and I use a lot in my practice, is some of the kind of the processes of energy clearing. So I was taught this I've been taught this from a number of traditions, but a lot of my kind of magical traditions I use, so a very earth-based view, a very druid-inspired practice. And so how I was taught is that you've got to have all the windows and doors open, so that the energy can be moved, can move. If you've got everything that is closed, it's not going to be able to move anywhere. So that's the first thing. So windows and doors need to be opened. I also work when I'm clearing energy, so I work in a counterclockwise way. So that's about kind of unwinding and moving the energy. So I always work on a counterclockwise way, and I also work from the bottom up. So dependent upon the property, I work from the basement up to attic space, working through in a counterclockwise way. I was also taught that really when you're clearing stale, stuck energy, you don't want to release that out without some sort of transmutation, to take that energy and transmute it into something that is more positive, something that is, life-sustaining instead of life-draining. So I hold that intention. I have a mantra that I say in my head, and that's kind of the process that I go through the property with. Then the next thing that I was taught is something out. You've got to really put the right intention back in, because if you've removed something, you can create a vacuum, and you don't necessarily know what's going to replace that energy, that space. Sorry. So we want to be very purposeful with what we put back in. So you can use some different herbs for that. I like to use sound very often, and the intention is to create, a harmonized, loving vibration in the space. So that is the practice that I use. It's the practice that I teach all my students to use, and very often it's the intention that is important in all of this work. The other thing that is really important is to come at this work with in partnership with the spirit of place. So that's the energetic essence of all the components of the landscape that the dwelling rests upon, and also in partnership with the guardian spirits. And every house has a guardian spirit, whether you know it or not, and it's so really doing the work with that, with the blessing of the elemental energies is really, really important as well, so that we're not just going in and imposing something on the space. So yeah, that's important too. So today I've been guided. The sacred smoke that I'm going to be using today to do the house clearing, the energy cleanse piece, is some nag champa, which is my favorite incense to burn. I always check in beforehand with regards to what it is that I need to be bringing, and so nag champa came up. I also have some beautiful blessed lavender water that I'm going to put in the space afterwards to create this wonderful harmonized vibration. We're also going to spend time, I'm going to spend time with the family in each of the rooms, talking about the beautiful memories and moments that mattered to them as a family, in a real acknowledgement to the guardian spirit who, will have facilitated this beautiful nurturing environment for them to grow up in. So we're going to be doing that. So I'm assuming there's going to be a fair bit of tears, a fair bit of laughter, and I'm just really looking forward to that. Well, I've just got back from the house clearing and the blessing, and it was just an amazing experience. I obviously couldn't take you in with me to share that, because it was just extremely personal, and I think it just would have created some awkwardness and all of that stuff, so I'm sorry about that. But I will give you a bit of the Coles notes as to what happened. As I say, it was just a wonderful experience. I feel so close to the family now. We went through the house. We started right in the basement, which was a very dark, dank place, but it was the space where Dad had spent a lot of his time. Dad and Mum had passed, and one of the daughters had bought the house, and now was moving on after, I think, probably spent 50 years in that house. So a lot of memories, a lot of good times, a lot of not so good times. We went from room to room, and each room they shared the most beautiful memories, and we laughed. There was a few tears. Mum in spirit joined us and was every step of the way she was there, and it was just such a beautiful process, really. The house felt calm, the house felt prepared and set up right for the new occupants, who I believe are a local couple that fell in love with the house, and I'm really glad, because they're not going to be knocking it down and redeveloping it, because it's just such a beautiful home, and it's going to be a home for a little while longer, so that's good. The testament of the outcome, really, of what the process achieved really was the daughter who had bought the house and continued to live there for a long time, and her daughter who grew up in the house, and they said to me, you know, they felt so much more at ease selling the house, so much more at ease with the transition that was happening, and it was just such a positive experience for them. So job done, and a really positive outcome. So I guess the purpose of this video is just really to share with you some of the work that I do, but also to remind you about the importance of transitions and pausing and building ritual into as many of those transitions as you can. And it doesn't have to be elaborate, it doesn't have to be, you know, kind of witchy or woo-woo. It really, you know, and this wasn't witchy or woo-woo, this was just the, you know, taking sacred smoke through the house and spritzing it with some blessed water, and really just sharing those wonderful stories, and being heart-centered in our approach. So it doesn't have to be complicated, doesn't have to be difficult or woo-woo. You just do you, and think about your transitions and think about your rituals, and yeah, put a bit of ritual in your life. I think it's missing. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope that you learned a little bit and maybe inspired to do some ritual for yourselves. If you have a question, please don't hesitate to reach out. I've got all the ways that you can contact me down below, and also you can leave a comment on the YouTube comment section. If you like the video, don't forget to hit the grey bell, and maybe consider subscribing and share it to anybody you think might enjoy this type of content, because you're really important in how we build community. You know, you play a really important part of that. So ta-ta for now.